Hello, Erica. Attempt number 2 at the video. I was evidently too long-winded on the other one, and I ran the batteries down. This is the only work that occurred in the last week or so that had to do with the original scope. This is the transom. We took the transom and we had the veneer, which was quite thin. It had been refinished a number of times by your dad, and we took that veneer completely off. It also had a lot of dings in it. It was very thin, probably would not have stood actually another sanding by us. So we removed that and we applied another veneer to it, and this veneer is over a 1/4 inch thick. So when we get done sanding this one more time, we'll take it to the cabinet shop, who has a very wide sander, and we'll sand this down all even. When we get done with that, you'll have somewhere between 3/16 and a 1/4 inch of veneer. So it lasts all the way through your kid's lifetime in terms of the number of refinishing jobs that it might have to have over the years. So transom is ready to go back in place. And in the earlier video, you'll see the piece that I've cut off here. And I say earlier video, the video that I probably won't upload because I ran out of battery because I'm so damn long-winded. I actually picked this piece up and off-cracked part of the original transom. It cracked. This is so this shape look familiar right here on the ground. That's the last 2.5 inches of your transom. So your boat is now 2.5 inches shorter than it was. Interesting. You see this where the rotted wood just broke out. That was right here behind one of the spray rails. Of course, that was nothing you guys could see, or that we could see either, for that matter, in the initial assessment of it. But at any rate, we'll keep this piece around because, as you can see, the check mark came just a little ways into it, so we've got to change the length of the check mark appropriately. And so we took off 2.5 inches. We took off several rot spots, and there was one questionable spot, but it turned out not to be rot, just some material that had broken away, and that'll all be underneath the transom. We had to shorten these stringers and put what's called limber holes in them, and that's for water to pass from side to side. And so these are a copy of what was in before. We just moved them 2.5 inches farther forward. So if you see that space, that's for water to pass. All right, this is one of the areas where damage had been done, and this was one of the areas that showed up in the video. So we've cut out a layer of plywood, the inner layer, and you can see a middle layer running this direction. And if you look at the outer layer in the same spot, it's running, well, crap. Yeah, it's running opposite the direction of on the outside. And it's kind of hard to get your head around that when you go to one side or the other. But anyway, these small pinholes are so that we can get some clear penetrating epoxy sealer down in there. And if we did miss any damage or rot, then we have done chemotherapy here. The largest of those spots is up here. We have about an 8-inch wide spot here. The top of it, the joint will not be visible because it's behind the rail that supports the seat. You can see where the wood's discolored back there, where that railing actually sat before, and we're all the way down to the keel on this side. And then you might remember too that that one side of the other side of the keel right up here, there was a leak as well, and so we've addressed those 3 spots. There's a 4th spot, but we believe we can address it from the bottom. We didn't find any damage in the wood yet, and it was up in this area. So we don't even find any discoloration. So we think that may be a matter of loosening the keel, which is this piece right here, and raising it up slightly, putting some sealant underneath, and fastening it back down. These other areas weren't quite so simple. As a matter of fact, the process to cut this out was quite long and involved, and it's really the only way to do it. We made a jig that fits around a router. I don't have a router here to show you, but I have a router I can show you. But at any rate, so the router fit down inside this opening right here, and we made it to where we could only take about 1/8 inch off with our pass. We made a router guide that this jig would run next to, like this. And this guide was then installed, and it matches the curvature and the slope of the wood. All right. And then we made this guide oversized. We made it extra long on this end where my finger is. And we started cutting at the right-hand side of the slot that you see in your picture. And then we came over to our chop saw, and we cut off a portion of our guide. Another 1/4 inch. We'd take another 1/4 inch off with our blade. Go back inside. Take another 1/4 inch off of our material inside. Come back to the chop saw and repeat that process for 8 inches, a 1/4 inch at a time. So 8 fourths, 32 passes. So as you can imagine, unfortunately, it is time consuming, but it renews your boat to like new factory condition, and we won't have to worry about rot in your or my lifetime. Your kids might have to worry about it, but it won't be right here. It'll be somewhere else in the boat. Okay, so we'll be sending you an invoice for this work. It is the better part of the week. Like I said, most of the week was repair and rot. This is ready to go back together. We're going to clamp these things in place, clamp our repairs in place this week, and once that's done, we'll be ready to start staining and varnishing. Well, we'll set the transom and start staining and varnishing the boat. So we're real anxious to kind of like the old horsey in the barn door, real anxious to get that done, and that's our goal would be to have that by the end of the week. We've got another job we're working on for a couple of days, just today and tomorrow, but we'll be back on this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we were on it Sunday a little bit as well. So let's see. I also have your paint. Oh, yeah. The paint came in. Paint supplies came in, and they're... Nope, that's not the box. Anyway, it's a box about that size, and it's $190 worth of paint. There's only one guy in the country that we know of that will mix the paint any color, and it is a two-part finish, and it's durable enough to use both inside the boat, on the floor, where you're not going to be able to avoid having some water in here. Hopefully no leaks, but splashing, people getting in with suits, and so on and so forth, should end up with some water probably inside the hull. So it'll stand up to that, and also on the outside of the hull, it is the mint green color, of course, and we haven't checked the color to make sure, but we will be checking the color to make sure that they actually got a match, and we will do that rather soon. The other thing that we're interested in doing is getting, once we get that paint on, then we're going to get a match in an automotive paint and doll this trailer up, and we got some bunk work to do. I know I don't have that price yet, so that reminds me that I need to get cracking on that for you. So anyhow, that's the scoop on it, and I'll be sending your invoice shortly, and we'll be progressing. Thank you very much, Erica.